welcome to the start of our extended coverage of the TCR Europe race meeting here at Oschersleben. Oh, I think I've only just appeared. Hello, and welcome to our extended coverage of this weekend's TCR Europe session at the Oschersleben circuit in the former East Germany. If you're wondering where we are geographically, we are roughly halfway between Berlin and Hanover, about 2 hours or so from Berlin down the motorway. And the I suppose, excitement approaching this weekend, heightened by a lot of incidents 3 weeks ago at the previous round at the Red Bull Ring. Still lots of people talking about some of the issues raised at the Red Bull Ring, a few controversial moments, and, well, one giant of a man, one figure that's missing this weekend. We'll be talking about that in a moment, and also introducing you to 3 new drivers. That's one of them. And in fact, that gets us neatly in to talk about the incident which has brought that man with us. This is Mark James in the commentary box, as I will be throughout the 2 free practice sessions, qualifying in race 1 tomorrow and race 2 on Sunday. I'm pleased to say that for the 2 free practice sessions, joining me in the commentary box from touringcartimes.com is Neil Hudson. Neil, you're very welcome.
Hey, good afternoon.
We have to mention Dominik Baumann from Austria in the number 58 target competition Hyundai, replacing Dusan Borkovic. I know you weren't at the Red Bull Ring, but the incident there, I think, fairly well discussed, and we're not going to see Dusan for the rest of the season.
No, and yeah, Dominik sort of tested the car at the beginning of the year for the team, so it's though they struggle to find a last-minute replacement. I guess when you lose a driver mid-season, these things are usually all planned out, so I guess you kind of have to work around it. At least they had a few weeks to do it, whereas you're looking at the next team, which had to...
Yes, absolutely. This is Mira. This is Luca Engstler. His teammate was Danny Nage, and we understand a very last-minute decision for Danny to part company with the team. I'm getting the feeling from talking to the team that it's still fairly painful and fairly raw, but they've managed to replace one Hungarian driver with another, and so it's Zsolt Szabo. We've seen him before in TCR competition, used to drive for Zengo. There he is in the 67 Mira Hyundai. So that's the second of our 2 new drivers this weekend. I dare say we'll talk about the third very shortly. But we should also point out that one man is missing. So we have a total of 28 cars entered for the 9th and 10th rounds of TCR Europe this weekend. There is the entry list, and you'll see that there are 28 names, all being well. One man missing is John Filippi in the Renault Megane, and so with Alex Morgan having made the switch from the Renault to the Cupra at the last round in the Red Bull Ring, with great success, finishing on the podium in race 2, no Renault Meganes, which is a shame, I think, Neil.
Yeah, obviously losing a brand from the grid is not great, but I suppose it's also helpful for their development cycle to keep working on it. They also know they've got some good achievements elsewhere. They've had a good result in Australia recently, haven't
Yes.
they? So, yeah, I think Renault's, we saw with Alex switch, he had great results straight away in the Cooper. Obviously, it had a nice weight limit in the Red Bull Ring. Yeah, and I think Felipe and Bukovic Motorsport developed the car, just taking a little time getting it ready. Come back again later in the year.
Let's hope so. It's always good to see a varied number of brands. We had 7 brands up until this weekend. We're now down to 6. And there is Dan Lloyd, also finishing on the podium last time out 3 weeks ago in the Red Bull Ring. And that meeting brought us to the halfway point of the season. An interesting position to be in, because we've already had a number of different race winners. We've had a triple race winner, Julien Brichet in the Peugeot, winning races 2, or race 2, on 3 occasions. The first round at the Hungaro Ring, the second round at Hockenheim, and then the third round at Spa. And then last time out, everything's shaken up, really. No sign of Brichet. Had a pretty miserable weekend, to be honest, by his standards. So the Red Bull Ring 3 weeks ago, Luca Filippi on pole. Race 1 winner was Josh Files. Race 2 was Luca Engstler. And in fact, it'll be Files and Engstler that'll be worth watching this weekend. Both, of course, regular competitors here at Oschersleben in TCR Germany.
Yeah, they're sort of well, Engstler is a German driver. Files is sort of one of the most successful TCR German drivers for some reason. And yes, I think it's also very interesting, the whole Engstler. I mean, they're both Hyundai drivers, but in different teams. Both have the same objectives, to be the leading Hyundai team. And Engstler's so far all year been talking down his championship hopes after that disastrous start in Hungary, where he went off to the first corner in qualifying. But now he's second in the championship, and it's right, it's looking really exciting the last few rounds.
Indeed. Okay, green lights on then. So the 30-minute free practice session is underway here at Oschersleben. And I should just mention, as the cars stream out of the pit lane onto the track, that also no Stian Paulsen here, which is a great shame. Stian told me at the Red Bull Ring that he's probably going to be missing the next 2 rounds because of budget issues, but hopes to return for the final round at Monza in October. So Stian, if you're watching, work hard, mate. Get those sponsors deals sorted, and we'll see you back hopefully in Italy for the final round. So then, 28 cars streaming out onto the circuit. Obviously, it's going to be too early for any serious development from the likes of Baumann and Sabo, where they will be looking really at the cars and their first competitive laps, or the first timed laps in the cars, but also Sylvain Poussier, who we'll be hopefully seeing a little later on in this session, taking over the 3rd Team Claret Sport Peugeot. And so he'll be just trying to bed in the car and get used to the circuit. They've done their track walk, and they've obviously been working on the simulators, some of them in the run-up to this event. There is Josh Files in the number 9, Target Competition Hyundai. Still 5 cars entered by Target Competition. Of the 6 brands that are here, Hyundai by far the most popular. 10 Hyundais in total, 5 of them run by Target Competition. And as we mentioned, Luca Engstler in 2nd place in the Drivers' Championship in another Hyundai, but run by Mira. So potential fireworks this weekend. Yeah. Now, were you here for the last time we were here with TCR, which was TCR International in 2017?
It was the very exciting double victory for Gianni Morbidelli. That team have been very much focused on that race since the start of this year. Obviously, the results are getting a bit stronger as the year's been going on. And West Coast Racing, we're certainly hoping their setup notes will be the same, and the car will do as well, because Volkswagen's been a bit, not quite where you expected it to be. So
no. Yeah. And it's difficult to have a conversation with West Coast without the subject of compensation weight and so forth coming through. Although, from memory, I'm trying to think of the figure that the Hyundais are actually heavier than the Volkswagens. And the likes of Josh and the others don't really seem to be complaining about it. They're just getting their heads down and getting on with the job.
No, I think the Hyundais are always it's a car that seems to be developed to run at 60 kilos. It's pretty much always on it. It wasn't on 40 kilos for Red Bull Ring, I think. But yeah, it's usually carrying heavy weight, and it also has the BOP weight against it as well. So technically, on the road, it's the heaviest car. Whereas the Volkswagen has rarely got to 60 kilos this year because its results haven't been so strong. And it still hasn't had great strong results, but it's had great pace in the last few rounds. And that's given it its full weight, unfortunately, for this weekend. So they've got some work to do on the setup to make sure it gets the results they need.
Some homework for you, viewer. If you've not yet watched it, have a look at race 2 from TCR International here in 2017. And that was a brilliant performance by Gianni Morbidelli. He took the maximum 55 points here, 5 points for pole, and then won both races. Race 2 particularly was led virtually from lights to flag by Matteo Homola, who is Josh Files' teammate this weekend. And it looked as though Matteo Homola was on course for the Opel Astra's first victory in TCR International. 2 corners from home, going up to turn 13. It always looked as though it was going to be on the cards. Gianni Morbidelli just sneaked past him, took the win, and Matteo absolutely devastated.
Yeah, also for Matteo, it's a racetrack he kind of likes as well. It's a reasonably close to where he's from, Slovakia, and he's gone well here before. I think he's hoping for the same again. Obviously now the Hyundai is also a different car to drive. He's a driver that seems to drive a different car every year. Last year obviously drove the Peugeot. And yeah, we'll see how he goes this weekend. I think he's hoping for the same results. I don't know if he'll expect to have only as few cars running around as that race 2 from 2 years ago. It was quite a dramatic start, if you recall.
Oh, Aurelien Comte just running slightly wide. It is free practice, of course, and people don't know what tyres are doing, what setups people are running. So it is a first chance for drivers and teams to get out on track and see what they can do. It's also a chance for drivers to try practice starts, because they're not allowed to do that in qualifying. It's only in free practice, which of course we normally don't stream for you. And the decision to stream both free practice sessions and qualifying seems to have gone down very well. So wherever you are in the world, you're very welcome. We're starting to see competitive times coming in. Quickest so far, Andreas Beckmann in the Target Competition Hyundai. Josh Files at the moment, P2. Beckmann with a 1:33.265. Josh Files just coming up to the line now. A 1:33.607. So And Santiago Urrutia has just gone P3 with a 134.040. And Beckman's just improved, 132.914. Again, very early days, and it's not really a session, is it, that we can read that much into?
It's sort of early, isn't it? And yeah, I was interested. Obviously, Andreas Beckman's never raced it before.
But he's tested. And both Beckmans tested at every track that we go to this year, and they did say that their test here over the winter was one of the most positive they'd had. So there is quiet confidence, I think, in the Beckman camp.
Maybe it's tracks where there's more things to do. I mean, obviously, it's a wet track, apparently. It doesn't look so wet anymore. We're about just a second away from the qualifying from 2 years ago, so it's quite interesting already. The pace is pretty quick.
93 thousandths of a second. Gianni Morbidelli goes P2. So despite all the team's doom and gloom about how heavy the car is, Morbidelli's possibly laying down a bit of a marker already. Beckman still P1, Morbidelli's second, then Urrutia, Jessica Beckman, Nelson Ponciatici in the Hyundai, then Files, Teddy Claret, Maxime Potti, Jimmy Claret, and as I say that, Tom Coronel goes P5. So Jimmy Claret rounding off the top 10 so far. And where are we? Just a fraction over 1 second so far covers the top 12.
It's a very Hyundai heavy top 12 as well. We still haven't got times yet from the mirror cars, so an interesting start so far. But as you say, first 10 minutes of practice.
And Andreas Beckman, the only driver so far to break the 133 lap barrier. Gianni Morbidelli's done a 133.007. But Andreas, 132.914. The other thing we should mention, although I think it's now drying, just before we came on air, the timing screen announced that it was a wet track. And we looked out the window and thought, it doesn't look wet. And then we saw a few raindrops on the window of the commentary box. The forecast this weekend is going to be mixed, to put it mildly. Showers tomorrow, but dry on Sunday.
Yeah, showers this afternoon as well. Clearly was one of them. Oh, we got some.
Gilles Magnus with some bodywork flailing.
Looked like you could have hit something to have done that. It's just fallen off.
We should talk about turn 9 at some point, because that, I suspect, will come into play at some point this weekend. The only place here in Oschersleben where track limits are an issue is the chicane at turn 9. And what the race director and the team here at Oschersleben have done is put a tyre pack out on the inside of the chicane, which forces people not to cut it. If the tyre pack gets nudged, there is a floppy, what looks like a cone, but you can knock it down and it bounces back up again. So that's the plan B. So that may well come into play, particularly in qualifying tomorrow. Luca Engstler going quickest, a 132.745 for Luca. So beating Beckman. So yes, turn 9 is the only place really that track limits will be an issue. Urrutia also on a bit of a charge, goes P3 with a 133.004, 3 thousandths quicker than Gianni Morbidelli.
One Audi P3, one Audi in the pits. That's Gilles getting his car fixed after that. And Gilles obviously has a grid penalty this weekend. One of the naughty boys of this from that second race, where rain also played part really in excitement last time out.
Oh, very much so. I mean, everybody went out on slicks hoping that the rain would ease off, and it actually got heavier, and you had that incredible shot of Tom Coronel, who started from pole in race 2 in the Red Bull Ring, sliding around turn 1 and running way out onto the Austrian flag that's on the outside, that's painted on the runoff area of turn 1. There is Dan Lloyd, currently down in 27th place. Surprise, surprise, green sectors from him, so he's finally doing reasonably. That's a P6 for Dan Lloyd in the Brutal Fish Honda. The reigning TCR UK champion, had experience, of course, of TCR International. And what was interesting yesterday is that several drivers, I think it was a suggestion from Ivan Muller, several drivers went out on track with Tony Whittaker, the race director. They've all got experience of the circuit here and were able to advise Tony of particular places where, for example, the tyre stack should go at the chicane and so forth. And Dan Lloyd, having raced here in TCR International, oh, Luca, what are you doing? Through the kitty litter, coming through turn 14 out into the start-finish straight. But I think we're going to see more of that where the drivers are advising the race director as to the characteristics of a particular circuit.
Interesting way of dealing with the race director. It's fine. We can pass here. Don't put that there. We'll be all right.
I think if one driver did that, I think we'd have a problem. The fact that there's a committee isn't so bad.
Anyone argue for the new turn 1? Go, nah, go the full 90 degree. That's the one to do.
Oh yeah, we've not mentioned that yet. Turn 1 here at Oschersleben has 2 potential layouts. It's a left-hander, and traditionally it was down the start-finish straight, hard onto the brakes, seriously hard onto the brakes, and then a square left-hander, and always, generally, that on the first lap you'd have carnage at that corner where people would be making contact and nudging people off. There is a more sweepy, whatever the term is, an easier geometry version of turn 1, as Andreas Beckmann goes quickest of all in sector 1 with a purple sector time, gold on your screens, and then unfortunately backs off in sector 2. But yes, you'll see in the races, race 1 tomorrow, race 2 on Sunday, that turn 1 is the more swoopy version. Sweepy version.
Sweepy.
Well, let's decide on a term for it, but it's not the 90-degree angle. And maybe if Alessandro, our producer, is listening in the truck, he can show us as the cars come down towards turn 1 this time. Here we go. We pick up Urrutia, and you see what I mean. He goes through the quicker version, but then they're still hard on the brakes for this long right-hander at turn 2, as opposed to away from the start-finish line, then hard onto the brakes for the very slow left-hander as the square version of turn 1. So Files then in the pit lane. Files at the moment down to P14. Looking down the order, just over a second separating the top 19 cars. Luca Engstler quickest so far, and so possibly sending a bit of a signal. Andreas Beckmann P2, Santiago Urrutia P3. There is Tom Coronel committing another slight indiscretion at the exit to turn 14. And Coronel introducing yet another discipline into his calendar this year, in that he's already doing WTCR in a Cupra, he's doing TCR Europe in this Honda, and he announced this week he's going to do Rallycross as well.
Yeah, I think he must have been inspired after that slide off at Red Bull Ring. Well, this is a Rallycross move. Let's do that then. And it's not just that, obviously, he also races GT, did the Nürburgring 24 hours. And
he does Dakar with his brother, so...
Yeah, keeps himself,
Likes to be busy, doesn't he?
Doesn't like to be home, by the sound of it,
So we're looking again at Andreas Beckmann. P2 so far. And I was just running down. Alex Morgan is P9 in the Cupra. Coronel P8. Jessica Beckmann P7. David Kajaya. And I'm pleased to see David here because I know that they were struggling a little for budget after Red Bull Ring. So I'm particularly pleased to see David Kajaya in the PCR Sport Cupra. P6. Dan Lloyd P5. Morbidelli is now P4. Santiago Urrutia P3. Andreas Beckmann P2, and still Luca Engstler 132.745 in P1 and in the pits.
No surprise then, you've got the first 2 teams there are TCR Germany, Oschersleben experts, I guess. It's quite interesting thinking, why do the Beckmans like this track? It's nothing like any of the TCR UK or the Scandinavian circuits they've been used to. It's a, often referred to as a very large-scale X-Trix track. You've got a very nice view of it if you go into the middle. You can see all around the loops. It's a very, very interesting sweeping circuit. So must be Target very comfortable with the setup here, and that's probably what's really working well for them.
Now, you're covering TCR Scandinavia this year, and is there much awareness, excitement about the Beckmans having made the step up from Scandinavia to UK to Europe?
Yeah, obviously as you kind of build a ladder, effectively, of touring cars, they very quickly made the move here after the successful year in the UK and Scandinavia last year. Scandinavia was a real struggle last year. It was very competitive. I mean, a lot of the Scandinavian teams from last year moved in straight into WTCR this year. So it's been a logical step for the Beckmans to come to Europe. And their results have been quite astounding, really. Obviously, they realised where their weak spots were. They've worked on a lot of off-season testing. I think it's about 3 weeks worth of pre-season testing, which is quite phenomenal for this kind of championship. So, and it's so far doing really well. I mean, Andreas is right up there 8th place in the championship. So.
I also saw that Jessica, I think, has a bit of a media profile in Sweden. She's done sort of the Swedish breakfast TV show and things with footage of her in action. So I think it's nice for them to get somebody young and clearly on the up in terms of international motor racing.
Yeah, and Jessica came back for one round at TCR Scandinavia earlier the year. The target team sent one of their spare cars all the way up to the circuit in Anderstorp, and she scored a podium on her return. I think she was quite happy with that, because after last year they didn't make the top 10 in any race. And now this year it's kind of come back and said last year was our learning year, this year's our proving ourselves year, and we'll see what happens after that.
I love that. Send a spare car. They also do TCR Italy, of course. So Target, an incredible operation. 5 cars here, and they were able to source and prep a car for Josh Files, ready for Red Bull Ring after the big accident in Spa. There is David Barry looking down at his new driver, Jean Szabo. As we look at Julien Brichet in the Peugeot. Incredible consistency at the beginning of the year, winning race 2, as I was saying earlier, in all of the first 3 rounds, and picking up some weight as a result for the Red Bull Ring. So what can he do this weekend? Currently, actually looking down the order, Julien is P19 at the moment, and
top Peugeot is P17. Teddy Claret?
Teddy Claret, yeah, 17th.
So they've had a bit of a weight break, obviously. This two-weight system, the BOP was adjusted because it was believed the Peugeots were probably benefiting a bit too much from that in the first 3 rounds. But the compensation weight is round by round calculated, and obviously the results in the first 3 rounds look strong. It kind of sometimes you end up with this pendulum effect when you then calculate and go, okay, now let's go back against you, 60 kilos for Red Bull Ring, and they had a torrid weekend. And after the torrid weekend, they've lost some weight, so they should be a little bit more in the mix this weekend.
Oh, you say that. Have a look at that lozenge at the bottom of your screen. So Brichet, just setting his best times in both sectors 1 and 2, 7/10 up in sector 2. So what can Brichet do? Around turn 14, he heads for the start-finish line. And currently P19, Julien Brichet improves to... He doesn't improve. As you were. Lost it all in that last sector. 1.8 seconds lost in that last sector.
The car behind him was the one to watch. Look, Nelson Panzatisci's gone fastest. 132.1, 6 cents faster.
132.166. So still only 3 cars have broken the 133 barrier, but Ponziatici over half a second quicker than Luca Engstler, as we saw Morbidelli and Engstler visiting the gravel. And there's Homola. We mentioned him earlier on. Was on course for that win 2 years ago in International, and Gianni Morbidelli clearly had other ideas. And it was the run-up from turn 12 to turn 13, a very short straight, and that's where Morbidelli was picking people off throughout the race. And as I said earlier, it's worth watching that back, because it was clearly always going to happen. It almost happened on the penultimate lap, and then on the final lap you could see it coming, and thank you very much, said Gianni, I'm having that. 55 points, the maximum. And Gianni's done that twice, because he did it in Monza in the Honda for West Coast the previous year, I think.
Yeah, the double's a rare achievement. It's been happened occasionally, and yeah, I think on that race, I think we were all thinking, oh, finally the Opel's going to win, it's Matto's first chance, and then the double win is also quite an exciting achievement, especially for West Coast that year. It was a good recovery. They were having a tough year up till then. And it's sort of the same story this year. They've had a bit of a tricky start to the year. Again, Red Bull Ring was good for them. Hopefully they might be able to... Their expectations are strong this weekend, and they're P5 right now, but it doesn't look like their Hyundai's currently wants to beat again.
Well, 1, 2, 3 at the moment. Ponziatici, Engstler and Beckman. Santiago Urrutia, we were watching a moment ago in the Audi, and incidentally, the newest edition of Inside the World of TCR, the video magazine, was published yesterday, I think. That's one of the... Oh, that's Brichet. So, Brichet in the number 24 Peugeot. There he is at the back of the shot, so at least he's up and running again. But what I was going to say was Inside the World of TCR, episode 10, was uploaded to social media a couple of days ago, and there's an interview with Santiago Urrutia in it. I know that he has lots of followers from South America, from Uruguay, and so to find out a little more about the man, what makes him tick, and his experience in all sorts of cars, then Santiago Urrutia, a one-to-one interview on the Inside the World of TCR show. Let's have a look. Anybody improving at the moment? Urrutia's just done his quickest lap. Brichet has recovered from that little indiscretion. Still currently P19. Under 10 minutes of this session remaining then. So 1:32.166 for Nelson Ponciartisi.
I got down that Morbidelli was a 1:31.4 from way back in 2017. Obviously, TCR Europe's never been here, so this is our second trip to Germany this year, actually, in TCR Europe, isn't it? So,
yep,
two very different tracks.
Gilles Magnus, early pace setter, of course, back in the beginning of the year, and then there was that race victory, the Audi domination, dare I say, of Spa. Magnus on pole. Magnus, the winner of race 1. Urrutia in P2. We always knew that Spa would suit the Audis, but didn't realise just how much. And the rest of the time, certainly the first 3 rounds of the year, it's been whoever's been on pole has won race 1, and then it was all shaken up in the Red Bull Ring, and that, I think, is... wow.
Kajaya.
It's Kajaya, but what's happened to his front right? Because it doesn't seem to have punctured. So
I think you turn 9.
Bodywork damage?
Side. Maybe, is it your tyre stack?
Ah. No, tyre stack would be left-hand side. Yeah, because it's... we're looking at the track map, and it's just coming through the chicane, just through the little compression. And so the tyre stack would be on the left-hand side. There is Gilles Magnus talking to his engineer. Magnus 14th so far, out of the car, so clearly not planning on taking any further part in this session as Tom Coronel comes down the pit lane. Currently 9th with a best lap of 1:33.166, so exactly a second off Nelson Ponciartisi's time. If you're just joining us, you're very welcome. This is Free Practice 1 here at Oschersleben, ahead of rounds 9 and 10 of TCR Europe 2019. And we've been let off our leashes a little this weekend, and so we have live coverage for you of both free practice sessions. Free practice 2 at 16:10 local time this afternoon. Then quali will start tomorrow. The 2-stage qualifying session will start at 09:50, 10 to 10 in the morning local time, and then 2 races as per usual, 23 minutes plus 1 lap. Race 1 tomorrow at 13:40. And race 2 on Sunday around the same time, 13:30, so just slightly earlier. And we will live stream those for you as we look at Luca Filippi. Pole man last time out 3 weeks ago in the Red Bull Ring. And a non-finish in race 2 for him after that last lap, coming together with Luca Engstler. Judged by the stewards to have been a racing incident, but Luca quite aggrieved and didn't feel that it was... as innocent as the stewards made out, but there you go.
Everything's racing and all that, and towing cars, that's what it's for, really. There's a line somewhere you got to find, isn't there? And it's, that's one of the best things about this series, is it? Good bit of contact here and there, but usually it's within bounds. You get some nice races, some nice results at the end of it.
But it was interesting at the drivers' briefing earlier that the stewards were saying that quite a few of the team managers have approached them and said, look, you really do need to be a little more robust in your not your decisions, but your penalties. So you may start to see this weekend, as we watch, there is the tyre stack that I was telling you about at turn 9, as Filippi bounces his way through the chicane. But you may start to see the stewards coming down a little harder on transgressions from this weekend onwards. So a little over 5 minutes of this session remaining then, as you can see on the top of your screen, as we look at Dan Lloyd, who goes quickest, 1:32.085. So 800ths quicker than Nelson Ponciartisi. So will Dan Lloyd top the timesheets at the end of this first free practice session? There is David Kajaya.
Dan who top practice in a Red Bull Ring, wasn't it? And then suddenly the Honda just went, yeah, we just let him have that.
Lloyd was quickest twice, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Free practice 1 and free practice 2.
They looked all promising, then thought, oh, Honda's going to be right up there, and then the Hyundais went and went 1, 2, 3 on the grid.
We expected the Hondas to be strong at the Red Bull Ring, and of course the Hyundais were...
Coronel's going faster now.
Yes, absolutely. Since we're talking about quick Hondas, Lloyd has shown the way with a 1:32.085. Tom Coronel currently 9th, just gone best sector of all in Sector 2 with a 31.966 Sector 2. He comes up to the start-finish line now, so what does Tom Coronel get out of this lap? Oh, and indeed, pole position. Sorry, quickest of all. I'm getting carried away. That's tomorrow. Tom Coronel, a 1:31.881. So actually, not only does he beat Dan Lloyd, but he breaks the 1:32 second lap barrier. And as you were saying earlier, that's down to the kind of time the TCR International Series was doing when they were here 2 years ago. So it's pretty much what we'd expect.
Quite quick for practice. You'd expect usually they'd be going on old tyres in free practice 1. I mean, this is the time of the session where they probably have new tyres on. We have to go and interrogate the drivers after and work out which tyres are on. But that makes it look like pole's going to potentially be quicker.
1:31.881 then for Coronel, as I was saying. Dan Lloyd, a 1:32.085. Honda's 1 and 2 at the moment then. Pontiac TC, 1:32.166. P3. Luca Engstler, 1:32.331. P4. Andreas Beckmann, 1:32.914 in 5th. And so a second covering the top 5, just over a second covering the top 5 at the moment, as Julien Brichet, having slipped on a fresh set of rubber, comes out of the pit lane. And Santiago Urrutia, one of only 2 Audis here. The other we've already seen parked up with Gilles Magnus. And there's Martin Rieber, Dan Lloyd's teammate in the Brutal Fish team. So as Martin Rieber's in the pits, you can see on the timing screen at the bottom of your screen that Dan Lloyd is still out there. And I think happy with his pace, although his best lap was a 1:32.085. He's just done a 1:32.125, and both those laps good enough for P2. So Lloyd lapping consistently around the 1:32.1 benchmark or thereabouts.
Mato Homola's moved his Hyundai badge to where it should be. That's something strange going on there.
Okay. Mato Homola currently 18th, crosses the line. Mato Homola 1:33.719, his best lap, just under 1:34, so about 3/10 off, as Urrutia now on a bit of a charge. Now, this is all potentially just about bragging rights and just unsettling people and trying to make people wonder what's going on in terms of tyres and so forth, but currently Honda's first and second. Coronel and Lloyd both in the pits. Pontiac TC's just come back out, we saw a moment ago. Engstler's in the pits, and Urrutia crosses the line and goes quickest. So Santiago Urrutia with less than 2 minutes, in fact just over a minute of the session remaining, Santiago Urrutia sets the quickest time with a 1:31.681, exactly 2/10 quicker than Coronel. There is Tom.
No bragging rights for Tom then, unfortunately.
Well, you wouldn't stop hearing about it, would you? One of the characters of touring car racing, I think it's fair to say. Just looking down the order, looking for... and that's our new boy in the 58 Target Competition Hyundai, Dominic Baumann. Competed here before, unsurprisingly, for an Austrian. And also one of the teams he's driven for is based just down the road with the BMWs, the GT3 cars. And so they used to come here quite often to shake the cars down and do development work. So he's very used to the circuit, but it's the car that he's having to get used to. Baumann having done most of his driving in GT3 cars, either Mercedes or BMW cars, as the clock hits 0 and the checkered flag comes out at the end of this first free practice session. Urrutia comes into the pits. His work is done, quickest in this session so far. And I'm just looking down to see, do we have any? We have no other purple sectors, a couple of green sectors as you go down the field, although Brichet has done one of them and has taken the checkered flag.
Peugeots haven't really...
There's nothing jumping out, is there?
Peugeots aren't having fun in this practice session. Definitely looks like it's Audi, Honda, honey, don't they?
Try that again.
Audi, honey. It's a tricky one. But you see Ruscio faster, an even faster first sector there, but then he backed off in sector 2.
Yeah. As I say, job
More
done.
pace to come.
Homola's out there, currently P20. But in a slight shake-up for the order, as Homola comes past Tamas Tenka in the Zengo Cupra. And around turn 14 comes Mato Homola. There's Urrutia, I think a hot debrief, I think they call that. And Homola indeed taking the checkered flag and not improving. So 20th for Mato Homola. Let's run through then with most cars either having taken the checkered flag or already in the pits. Santiago Urrutia, quickest of all with a 1:31.681 in the Audi RS3 LMS. Tom Coronel second, Dan Lloyd third, Nelson Ponciatici fourth, Luca Enschler fifth, Andreas Beckmann sixth, Gianni Morbidelli seventh, David Kajaya eighth. Then it's Zsolt Szabo, P9 in the Mira Hyundai, Jessica Beckmann 10th, Alex Morgan, we've hardly seen, but he's P11 in the Cupra. Luca Filippi 12th, Maxime Potti 13th, Aurélien Comte 14th, Dominic Baumann 15th, and then behind those 15, Gilles Magnus 16th, Josh Files 17th, Victor Davidovsky, Neil shaking his head alongside me in the commentary box, Teddy Claret 19th, the best of the Peugeots, Mato Homola, we mentioned a moment ago, Mato Homola 20th, Julien Brichet 21st, Jimmy Claret 22nd, Nathan Biel in the second of the M Racing Hyundais 23rd, Martin Rieber 24th, Oli Kangas 25th, Tamas Tenka 26th, Abdullah Ali Al-Khelaifi returning, there he is, after that incident with Lilou Wadou in Spa. Al-Khelaifi missed the Red Bull Ring, but has returned in the PCR Sports Cupra, 27th. And then it's Sylvain Poussier in the Peugeot, the Team Claret Racing Peugeot, that brings up the rear of the field with a best lap of 1:35.638. So nearly 4 seconds off the pace. Let's just get official confirmation for you. But it does look like first blood this weekend has gone to Audi. That'll delight the German brand on its home turf, Santiago Urrutia. That'll also put quite a few smiles on his followers back home, who I dare say are watching. Urrutia quickest of all then with a 1:31.681 ahead of Coronel, Lloyd, Ponciatici, Enschler, Andreas Beckmann, Morbidelli, Kajaya, Zsolt Szabo, and bringing up the rear of the top 10, Jessica Beckmann, Alex Morgan, Filippi, Potti, Comte, Baumann, Magnus, Files, Davidovsky, Claret, Teddy Claret that is, and Mato Homola. That's your top 20. Yeah, there's a strange timing message just come up on our screen referring to a car 400. I didn't think we had a car 400.
Bonus entry. Stuck into the back of the grid. I don't know, Josh Files there at P17. My shaking head was like, well, that's old tyres. You know, when you look at the other Hyundais at the front, you think, nah, it's going to be... We've not seen this whole story there yet, I think.
Yeah, and also the other story is Josh Files. When you think that Santiago Urrutia did 14 laps in that half-hour session, Josh Files did 3. So clearly a lot of work to do for Josh, or was that just him reminding himself which way he goes around Oschersleben? Anyway, Neil, thank you very much. Join me, please, if you would, for the second free practice session, which comes up later this afternoon at 4:10 local time. And as I say, a reminder of tomorrow's action, qualifying at 09:50, race 1 at 13:40, and then on Sunday, live coverage of race 2. The race starts at 13:30 local time on Sunday. So, you're very welcome to the start of our coverage then of the TCR Europe meeting here at Oschersleben. We will see you a little later on this afternoon.